I want to say that Rachel has performed in large congregations and small ones and all sorts of Jewish and theatrical music, but I do believe this is her first time in a church. Good morning.
Good morning.
Most of you know me. I am Rabbi Ken Giss. For those looking around saying rabbi, wondering if they are in the right place, yes, I am an honest-to-goodness Jewish rabbi, and you are definitely in the right place. For her entire life, my wife, Judy, a Christian, has been a member of this congregation. She has been bringing me to this open, warm, and inclusive church for over 43 years. 43 years. I can't be that old. That went fast. Reverend Mike Obenhauer asked if I would like to deliver a sermon this summer. It is always a joy in my heart to be called to this pulpit for you, my friends, who have lovingly accepted me into your midst to walk our slightly different but mutual path to God together. Besides, aren't sermons what rabbis do? Reverend Mike said this summer's theme will be the book 11 Indispensable Relationships You Can't Be Without by Leonard Sweet. I chose the chapter on Jethro, a very interesting figure in the Bible. To get the obvious out of the way, this Jethro has nothing to do with the Beverly Hillbillies. Some of you know, but if you're not laughing, ask an older person around you. Reverend Aaron Wyma told me that in Sweet's book, Jethro is the name given to the person who gives you a nudge in the right direction. Reverend Mike, being more direct, said Jethro is the butt kicker, the keister kicker. Now I wondered, can I say butt in church? There might be another term which could be substituted for butt, like rear, rump, seat, fanny, backside, behind, posterior, or Reverend Mike's keister. How about boot to the caboose? No, that sounds too Canadian. Rabbi Kahane of blessed memory would have discreetly used a Yiddish word like tuchus or tushy. Maybe a rabbi should use the Yiddish expression, ein Kopf in der Tuchus. Don't need to translate. Sweet is talking about a motivating spiritual butt kicking, not a physical kick. No martial arts practice here, though some of you might seem to need it. The overall theme of the book is witnessing. Sweet's shorthand for indispensable relationships. He says we are witness when we travel life's road together as guides, guards, and friends for each other. In the New Testament, in Mark 3:14, it says Jesus appointed 12, whom he also named apostles, to be with him. Sweet says before the apostles could be witnesses, they first had to be simply with him. To be witnesses so they could be witnesses. In Exodus, Moses is raised in the palace of the Pharaoh, kills an Egyptian who was beating a Hebrew slave, and Moses has to escape to the desert of Midian to avoid his punishment. In the desert, he encounters and helps the daughters of Jethro at a well. When Jethro, or in the Hebrew is Yithro, is introduced to us, he is described as a priest of Midian. It is interesting and very significant that the first name used for him in the Bible is Reuel, not Jethro. Many Old Testament names have a meaning that relate or describe the person. Reuel means friend of God. Jethro is not really a name, but is believed to be an honorific, his title, reflecting his religious and political standing as a leader. Could it be that Jethro, Reuel, friend of God, and his followers were not pagans, like some assume, but were monotheists who already worshiped the one true God? Jethro learns of how Moses helped his daughters and invites Moses to dinner. Moses must have made a good impression, since he's soon married to Zipporah, one of Jethro's 7 daughters. One might say in modern terms, that palace-educated Moses turned indigent desert drifter cleaned up real good. With no unemployment insurance at that time, Moses needed a job. His father-in-law, Jethro, brings him into the family business, the sheep business. The first time we see Moses get a kick in the butt is not from Jethro. You know the story. Moses is happily tending sheep, working for his father-in-law, until one day he sees an angel of fire in a burning bush that is not consumed. God makes himself known to Moses. God tells Moses to go to Pharaoh and tell him to release the Israelites from slavery. And what is Moses' reply? In modern term, it's, you want me to go where and do what? Moses then gives God excuses why he can't go, but the Eternal does not take no for an answer. Finally, Moses pleads in Exodus, in Exodus 4:14, please, my Lord, make someone else your agent. The Eternal becomes very angry with Moses when Moses says that. Of course, there is much more, but you get the gist. Moses must have really loved the sheep business, and he really did have some chutzpah, to use another Yiddish term. Arguing with God, Moses could have easily ended up a pillar of salt, if not worse. But God was kicking Moses' butt forward with love, a friendly persuasion. Proverbs 3:12 tells us, for the Lord corrects the one he loves, as a father the son in whom he delights. He gives a loving butt kick. Moses goes to Jethro, his father-in-law and friend, telling him of the conversation with God. The way Moses asked Jethro, you can assume that he doesn't really want to go back to Egypt and is hoping that Jethro will try to talk him out of it. Jethro, though, gives Moses a kick in the butt when he does not discuss the pros and cons. No, Jethro simply says, Lech shalom, go to shalom. He does not say, go in peace, by the way. As the New Standard Revised Standard Version Bible, which you probably have in your pews, says, and so do many other Bible translations, including Jewish ones. It is not lost on Sweet that the Hebrew term lech ba shalom, go in peace, is used for the deceased, or those near death, or those who are, for one other reason, are not ceasing to go forward in their life. Shalom means more than peace. The Talmudic writings of the old Jewish sages say it implies that specialness that comes with a holy connection. Lech shalom, go to shalom, implies a continuation on one spiritual journey to a stronger relationship with God. Sweet goes on to say, everyone needs someone, often older, who believes in them and cares enough about them to wake and shake them up to dream big and live large. Sweet says, everyone is included, from child to the 90-year-old. When Jethro gives Moses the kick in the butt, Moses is pretty close to 80. He is at the start of the great adventure that brings Judeo-Christian morality to the world. We shouldn't get too complacent in our pews if he can do that, no matter what our age. When I was in my 50s, Rabbi Kahane, of blessed memory, was coaxing me to become a rabbi. I had doubts. Having found a seminary that wanted me, I went to Rabbi Kahane to list all the problems with going to become a rabbi. Why I could not go. I was too old, married to a Christian. It would take too long. It was far away and more. But before I could get my excuses barely out of my mouth, Rabbi Kahane simply said, "You are needed, go." He was my mentor and butt kicker. "You are needed, go," was his way of telling me, go to Shalom. So I went to seminary, and here I am. After the exodus from Egypt, Jethro comes back to the Israelite camp. Learning of God's wonders, Jethro makes a sacrifice to God, and in Exodus 8:12, it says, Aaron came with all the elders of Israel to eat bread with Moses' father-in-law in the presence of God.